Captain's log, stardate 113. The crew of the starship Linux Out Loud is powering up for another mission across the galaxy of open source. I'm Commander Nate, joined on the bridge by Science Officer Wendy and Chief Engineer Matt. If you notice, we have no captain, because there was a mutiny. Our objective, to explore strange new tech, to seek out new Linux tools and open source civilizations, to boldly banter where no podcast has bantered before. Shields are up, microphones are live, and the signal is strong. This week's mission is Linux getting boring? It's time for episode 113 of Linux Out Loud. Engage.
Perfect. I told you would nail it.
Look at that. One take.
You got it.
All right.
Totally up your alley.
Man, it's so good to see you two. I've missed you. I feel like it's been an eternity, at least a season. Because I don't think we've talked.
It's been a while. Yeah.
I think since May, something like that. Because of work stuff for me.
Yeah, because the last two shows, one was with Neil and Bill, and the last one was just me and Bill. So yeah, you guys have missed a couple shows. Shows haven't been getting out super fast because of robotics stuff. So It's been a while since we've hung out together.
Yeah.
You're muted.
Yeah, I know. Goes to show how long I've not used any of my recording equipment.
Right, it's been a while.
Did you have to dust off the cobwebs?
Yes.
Definitely.
Do you have to dust off the cobwebs upstairs every day?
No, so the thing is I don't. I just let them accumulate because then there's more activity going on and there's more chatter. So it's great.
So you're like bad Microsoft code, a lot of bit rot.
No, that would actually be an improvement. So speaking of bit rot, actually it has nothing to do with bit rot or cobwebs, but Wendy, you said you've been doing a lot with robotics and you got some new team laptops going on here. What did you end up acquiring?
Yeah, so last episode, so this is probably new for the two of you, because I'm sure you don't go back and listen to shows that you're not actually on.
I do, actually. Actually, I prefer to listen to the ones that I'm not on, because I don't actually like my voice, and I think it's annoying, a little bit nasally, and I think I use too many crutch words. But anyway, go on.
No, you're fine. I have to listen to myself as I edit myself. I think that's far worse. But on the last episode when talking to Bill, I said that there was a local ISP that was donating six laptops to the team. Oh, nice. They ended up being really nice Lenovo laptops. So they're like 11 or 12th gen, because some are 11, some are 12th. i7 laptops with 16 gigabits of RAM. And what I ended up installing on them was Zorin. And I was kind of back and forth on what I wanted to put on them, because I know I've talked to both Neil and Bill about putting Fedora on these laptops. And right now, I just don't have a good way to go through and update all of them. And one of the issues with running Fedora on multiple systems like that they all need updated is that Fedora is rolling like every 6 months, give or take. There's a new version of it. And these laptops are mainly used during the summer. So we have camps coming up at the end of this month, beginning of August. That's the main core of when they're used. And we'll use them here and there throughout the rest of the year, sometimes for their demos and that kind of thing. But their major use is during the summer for camps. And so right now I just wasn't wanting the extra time commitment of trying to keep them all updated. So my kids have been running Zorin on their personal laptops. Right now, Zorin Lite is running on the kitchen system. They've been running fantastic. And one thing that I like about it over other Ubuntu bases is that Flatpak is pre-installed. I'm not a huge fan of snaps. I know I've talked about this before multiple times, kind of feel like I'm beating a dead horse there. But I do like the fact that Flatpak is pre-installed, the FlatHub is. So it was pretty easy to get Chromium installed and Pybricks fully up and running on those systems. They'll be fairly easy to update. I know that there isn't going to be a new major release of Zorin until the next LTS release of Ubuntu. So that kind of keeps them in a pretty steady state right now until I continue to work with those two other guys on how we could roll out Fedora. Now, why would I want to roll out Fedora? I really like it. I like DNF. I think for the most part, it runs pretty well. I've had some issues with Wayland, as I've also talked about. So I'm not all like giggly over the fact that 42 has pretty much stripped out all of X. I've had some issues with the install of Fedora 2 on my main systems, on my in-laws system. They were running an older version of Fedora. This last weekend, I finally had time to go through and update their system and was having some issues with the install media because of Wayland. So they're currently running Zorin because of that. I'm really excited for Wayland to like have all the bugs worked out. But I've definitely run into use cases where it meant that I'm not using Fedora because of current Wayland issues. So as you all know, most of you probably know, it's been a little while since I talked about it. My system's back on Manjaro because of Wayland and the issues with Wayland on Fedora 42. But that's what's going on with camps. We're just preparing for them. Kind of side note, we are using Pybricks in camp this year. So one of the things I've also been doing is writing curriculum for camps based on Pybricks. And I have to say it's going pretty well because Pybricks itself is so straightforward. Now that everything's installed and ready to go, the team members can actually start playing with it, which I think is going to be extremely important for them to kind of get the hang of it. And I know I talked about this last week, but one thing that I absolutely love that Pybricks has done is you can have the block code and the written code right next to each other. They have a little tab menu that you can pop open. And as you drag blocks onto your workspace, it pops up as written code next to it. So for anybody who knows the written MicroPython for Pybricks, you can just look and be like, oh yeah, that's nice. That makes sense. I understand it. So I think that'll help our kids as they're teaching others how to use the block. It's pretty smooth the way it works.
I was listening to you talk about this on Destination Linux and how, so I feel like this is like a good recap on it. And I'm very interested in knowing, so you said it's like reading, it's like reading the same kind of block architecture the MicroPython is, or is it's scripted, but it's easy to read like the block? Is it? I guess that was the question
blocks, I had. Their blocks are super easy to read because of the way that they have designed them. And like I said, the best part about them is because you can have that written code right next to it. When you drag a block on, you know how it's supposed to look written for a lot of us who's learned it that way. Even the kids we have on the team that have transitioned from FLL to FTC, they learned MicroPython through Pybricks. And so for them, they're able to be like, oh, okay, so that's a line of code that I would write if I was just typing it out by dragging this block on. And so they, as fellow mentors, can look at it and be like, yeah, that's a proper line of code with the blocks that were dropped over. And then the kids who are using the blocks can actually see what that would look like translated to written from the blocks that they drag over.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
It seems like
I
that's
might
something
have to give you a demo of it later. It makes so much more sense when you can, see it.
You know, that actually sounds like good, maybe filler content when we have downtime. I don't know if that's something you maybe what we could do. Just a thought.
Heck yeah.
I don't know how interested. I'm sure Matt could pause his game that he's playing right now for this conversation.
Say what? Huh? What? I don't know what you're talking about.
No, he's not hanging around for this.
Now, the lights are off here, but this is actually my son's station over here where he's doing some of his robotic stuff. So he's kind of getting into that spirit of things too. But anyway, so I know it might be good content. We could probably go over that. You could teach me like I am, an 8-year-old ADHD hyperactive child, and we can go from there.
I guess
with
sounds
an
like
unhealthy
a plan.
obsession for open source.
Almost unhealthy. Wasn't don't listen to him. Don't listen to him.
Right. I mean, really, Matt doesn't have much room to talk because I think as far as the hardware wars, he is severely, and I mean severely losing because you have another phone to talk about this week.
So, I believe the last episode I was on, I talked about buying the CMF phone, correct?
Yes, you did.
So, I swear these companies do this to me every time. Every time. So, CMF phone. This is currently my daily driver.
Right.
Yeah, whatever. Good phone for what it is. $279 after shipping and everything. Not a bad phone for what it is.
Yeah.
I had moved from the Unihertz Titan. So anybody who knows me, it knows I'm an old school BlackBerry user. So give me a physical keyboard any dang day of the week. You won't get it unless you've used them. And that's all I can really say about it. It's precision over speed, but you can get the speed with precision.
Yeah,
so
that makes sense.
Can you say that again? Because I wanted to punch myself in the head.
Precision over speed. You can develop the speed with the precision. So
better to be smooth than fast. But if
you start out you'll start out slower than you. What I'm saying is you'll start out slower than you would on a swipe style typing or any of that kind of stuff. You will start out slower, but you will
smooth as fast.
But you will have less mistakes that you are backtracking on than on a virtual keyboard because you are more precise. But like touch typing on, like, say, a keyboard, you develop the muscle memory of knowing where the physical keys are, so you will build up the speed and the precision. So
do you even know how to touch type?
Yes. Nate. Oh. So, hey, Wendy, content edit?
Definitely. It wouldn't be an LOL without one.
Okay, anyway, about your phone.
Anyway, yes.
Actually, some that you could probably just leave in because it's kind of funny. So this is actually a neat phone. I honestly, I poo-pooed on you a little bit, and I don't want to apologize, but I do want to backtrack a little bit or backpedal a little bit on that. I do think this is actually a neat idea. One, the screen ratio to me is a lot more practical than a lot of other.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, it doesn't look annoyingly small like some of those Blackberries. So I think I think it's actually a good idea. It's obviously running Android of some kind.
It's from what it looks like. I think it's Android 15. It ships with promises of updates to Android 17. So the one thing that was,
I didn't check the specs on it, but I mean, it's probably
12 gigs of RAM. 12 gigs of RAM. I think it's a MediaTek 7. It's the same processor that's in this, so it's a 7300 Dimensity MediaTek processor.
All right, so that seems like overkill. But nonetheless, it's got dual screens too. That's neat. So screen on the back.
Yeah, the screen on the back is more kind of gimmicky, but great for if you want to use the main camera for selfies or video or whatever. That's cool.
Yeah, you can make sure you're framing yourself up properly.
I did get a new phone too. I'm not trying to steal, but this screen here is not gimmicky. This is actually really good.
I know.
So you have a Motorola Flip, right?
I did.
A Rode Motorola Razr? Yeah, you have a Razr.
The 2023 model, that was like $300.
Yeah.
So the wrong color. But anyway,
so Nate,
I think it's not
similar to you though. Mm-hmm. I did have the similar Motorola Razr. I think it was the 2022 model. That front screen is a lot more useful than people actually give it credit for.
Yeah. So I mean, again, I don't know how you're going to use this, but like I found a lot of new, really practical uses of that front screen. So I mean, little things. And again, I don't know I don't know what your use case is going to be for this thing. I have no idea. Yeah. But one, people do get a kick out of the fact they can see the pictures that are being taken of them. Because we had like a family reunion thing, and I was taking pictures of people. Like, hey, there's a screen on there. I can see it. Yeah.
There's that.
And then also, I don't know if you use QIDI Connect at all, but I use it like it's kind of like my killer app. That if something doesn't have QIDI Connect, it's basically a useless piece of equipment to me now. And so I like using that small screen for just basically being a remote touchpad on my computer when I'm using it. So there's all kinds of different things you can do with those screens. Again, I don't know what all the gimmicks are wrapped up into it, but I think that's neat.
This one seems a lot smaller, but it looks like it would be nice if you've got it flipped around to actually see some notifications, some time, some information like that. I'd have to say that just scrolling through the info on this one, it feels like it is a top tier phone. And I have to say the backlit keyboard on this thing has me so giddy.
So
I kind of want one too.
So here's the reason I got one. The price, $269.
See,
that's really hard to beat. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and most people will say, well, it's on Kickstarter. It's Unihertz. They've been on Kickstarter multiple times. They actually I have bought stuff directly from their website. Their stuff, it works. As far as customer reviews and that kind of stuff, you'll hear some complain, some won't. It's like any other company. Some will have good experiences, some will have bad. I've seen dumb stuff, like, because like I'm part of certain groups on about this particular device. Some of them will whine and complain, like the badging's too big, or it's not IP 68 or what, everything, like, because it doesn't have the ruggedization of the first Titan. To which the whole point most people wanted of an Android phone like this was they wanted a BlackBerry Passport, but with Android on it. That's all people were asking for. And what did they finally give you? A updated BlackBerry Passport designed, because you can use the keyboard to scroll stuff too, like without touching the screen. So capacitive keyboard. So you can up, down, navigate the interface, all that stuff. They gave you a BlackBerry Passport with Android on it, with up to Android 17 promised for updates. And Unihertz is terrible, and I will be the first to admit, terrible about updating their devices like any other Chinese OEM has been. So the fact that we're getting any updates
at all
is encouraging, given their past. So
another note, it does come with a case and screen protector as part of the package. So you don't have to worry about the fact that you can't find them locally or online. You can get them from them, and they're included in the overall package.
So
I like the idea of assigning long press shortcuts for different keys too. That's a neat feature.
Yes.
So, well, here's the thing with that, Nate. That is the entire keyboard, not just certain keys.
I know.
So
I'm saying that's
every
a feature.
key has double function.
That is cool.
Yeah.
That is way cool.
So there's a lot that I can really get behind on this, because like I use the Titan, like the OG Titan. Like the last time that thing got security updates was like, I think 2023. So I kept using that because physical keyboard until it died.
Yeah.
So to see this, and I was just like, of course they would do it like a month and a half after I
already bought a phone.
The only other phone that I found remotely somewhat interesting, just from a strictly a color and design perspective,
was the Fairphone.
I was like, of course. No, this is the CMF phone. Fairphone has become my Pine phone essentially. Gotcha. I keep Ubuntu Touch on the Fairphone as kind of a rolling update on it.
And I see how it's progressing and all of that stuff. Yep. Yeah.
That is the whole point of the Fairphone for me.
I would also like to again, I have an original Pine phone, but I haven't messed with it in a long time just because the hardware itself is so old that I think to get a good look of what that current software looks like, just needing something newer to run it on. Yeah.
Yeah. Though in fairness, the Fairphone, I have debated about putting, I think it's Calyx OS on it, which is kind of like a graphene OS, but with like actual functionality.
Okay. So it adds a little bit more of the Google back into it, so you could have those services.
So it has like Micro G, which is kind of like the open source implementation of Google services, and
I remember installing GApps or GApps, however you want to say, and having those different options. So as small as you can get with Google integration.
Yes. and better app compatibility, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And they do have an actual like install guide on Calyx for the Fairphone. I have debated going that route. I don't know, because again, eventually, for the most part, I can do 90% of what I need in a browser. Like, I don't really need to be application specific.
Yeah.
So, Ubuntu Touch for the generic most part would work for me, but it's more about carrier support and
maps, right? Because that was an issue last time you were trying to run it as a daily. Yeah.
I could daily the phone itself, but the lack of maps and the there's one or two applications I need that rely solely on maps, and I can't use them even with things like Waydroid. So I have to look at Android, unfortunately. But with this phone, it shall be interesting, because I've spent the last month and a half getting reacclimated to touchscreen keyboards, and now I got to go backwards and readjust to a new keyboard.
I'll be curious to see when you get this one how you like switching back to it and comparing it between the first generation and this one.
It'll be interesting. They're supposed to be shipping in October, so relatively soon. I guess we'll see. I'm kind of looking forward to it. The only thing that, like I said, that I kind of wasn't a big fan of is it's a thicker phone, but you don't have a headphone jack, which granted, they're becoming fewer and fewer. Bluetooth, everything.
They're hard to find. And expandable media and headphone jacks are.
And that was the other thing. The expandable media is not on this phone, but it was on the first one. But I'm also getting 512 gigs of storage locally on the phone. So win some, lose some.
Yeah.
But so it's left currently on Kickstarter. I think it ends at the end of the month. I think it's like the 28th or somewhere around there.
Something like that, I think is what I read. Yeah.
Is when it ends. So if you want to back a keyboard phone, I know there have been ROMs prior for the other devices to run Ubuntu Touch on them. So if you want to go that direction, you might be able to eventually too. So,
Matt, we could get the couple special and save $10 each.
Nate. Hey, I got a month and a half worth of crap to make up for not giving
this is
Nate,
true.
So you're damn well.
I guess that fits, right?
It does. And I'm not offended, thankfully, because I don't have that gene.
You don't have the offended gene?
So while I have been looking to upgrade or change things yet again, Nate, it seems like you're also doing some changes and upgrades in the lab.
Yes. So this year I have a whole laundry list or like a bucket list of things I'm going to do on my cubicle estate here. A lot of it here in the lab. So I had some lights failing, like these fluorescent, 4-foot fluorescent tube bulbs. So I've been replacing those with direct, I have to rewire remove the ballasts and put in the LED lights. I've been I'm working on doing some solar panel installations and also some roof repairs on the Bay Area here. It's a metal roof, but there's some areas where it's leaking. So, but anyway, I'm putting up some solar panels here. Actually, would have done it today. I was actually getting ready to do it today. I'm like, oh, that's right, I have to record. So tomorrow. Then so it's doing some some lab improvements here. The another big one is my Ender 3, my Creality Ender 3 printer. It's been a good run, but it needs to be rebuilt at this point. I've served it a hot supper a few too many times. It's not behaving well anymore, and I need to basically kind of do the Wendy treatment to it. But I don't want to be without a 3D printer, and also I need a printer that has a larger build plate. So I got myself. It just arrived today. Like I was just as I went, turned on the camera to talk to you, Jackaloons. I just brought it in here in the lab, so it's sitting down here. But it's a QIDI Max 3 3D printer. So it's a high speed, large size 3D printer with 600 millimeters a second fast print. I got this because a coworker of mine. He has one, and he's brought in the prints and the designs that he's done, and it looks like it could have been very close. Like it could have been like molded, plastic injection molded, very high quality print quality, very high print quality to it. And then this also it's fully auto leveling. It has a temperature control chamber. I have a chamber as well, but it's not temperature controlled. It's just whatever blows off the, whatever I'm printing. It has a print size of 12.8 by 12.8 inches. So it's large. And the big reason for that is I want to be able to print a lot of the prints I've been doing. I've had to do it in sections, and then I have to glue them together. Some of them don't hold up. Some of them do. And one of the things I want to do is I want to start, because they don't exist, start designing some cases for like the Framework 13. Since the Framework 13 has built-in magnets, because that's how it holds itself together, I can use those same magnets without any modifications to the computer to be able to hold a protector on there. Largely, because I do take my laptop in the plant, so some areas are just a little bit more rough. I'd like to have just a little bit, just a little bit of protection for it, And I also want to play with the TPU, like 95A type material that's like kind of rubbery, and that might be fun to play with as well. So I have a bunch of things. There's a bunch of other stuff, other projects that I have that are basically on hold until I got this printer, and so I'm going to get to that. Hopefully, I can start making content again. We'll see. I've been busy I can't say that on this podcast. So I've been busy. And so the other thing too that I'm doing is I've been purging a lot of things out of here. Probably can't tell, but like right here, it's a mess right here because I've been doing a lot of sorting through stuff. But I made a bunch of space. So I made a gaming rack when I was in my previous home, and it really hasn't been properly utilized up until about last week or so. So I have an area here where I got the OG Xbox, the Nintendo 64, a Wii, a GameCube, but the GameCube is misbehaving now, so I don't know what's wrong with it. I'll figure it out. But so I have all this here with a screen, and so we can, play games, whatever. It's a nice, comfortable setup over here as well. So it's not just work, and that's next to my Amigas and Commodore 64s and Nintendos and such as well too. So I have a nice, area basically where I can have some, some fun as well. That's kind of the big thing that's going on right now. Just doing a lot of little upgrades, organizing, cleaning, sorting, purging, making my space nicely usable, and then preparing for like the next phase of my Cubicle Nate nonsense, which I'm hoping to start basically January of 2025. So I'm a little behind.
It happens. I'm super excited for you to get this printer set up because I remember you originally talking about it.
Like 9 months ago.
So I also have a new printer. I don't know if I've talked about it here, but it's the Soville SV06 Ace Plus, something like that. It's a bit of a mouthful. But I also got it because it does have a larger bed. It's not quite as large as that one. My Ender 5 Plus that needs reworked has a bed about that size, maybe a little bit larger. But it's nice. It's nice having that extra printing space to be able to print a lot more smaller parts, to be able to print larger things in general. This one is faster than my Ace because I think it's 500 millimeters a second. And I've already been loving how fast and clean the prints are on it. I do love the auto bed leveling. This one is a bed slinger and still runs that fast.
Okay.
So this one, is it Core XY?
Huh?
Is this bed Core XY?
So
it's got like the double belts for X and Y.
Well,
yes. Okay.
I haven't taken part, but yeah. So it's a bed drop, not a bed sling. So
not a bed slinger.
Core XY. So you just exposed my ignorance. Yes, it's probably that.
So I've been talking to my robotics kids, especially one in particular, a lot about 3D printers and that kind of stuff. So I guess maybe I'm getting a little too comfortable with the 3D printer slang, as it were. But I don't know. I'm super excited to see what you can produce with this and the kind of stuff that's going to come off of it. I know you've had some awesome stuff come off your small Ender 3s that you've eventually pieced together. So this has just got to be that much better.
Yep. I'm, fingers crossed. I'm hoping that this will go well. It'll probably go fine. But I got to set it up, and then I obviously already have filament. So there's
Right.
there is something I do want to reprint. I already printed it once, but I don't like the result of it. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll call this a sneak peek of what I'm working on here.
Okay.
But it's a frame. It's probably okay, but I just don't like when you get up close. Just it looks terrible. You probably can't tell on the camera at all, but it is. Oh yeah, there you can. You can see where I glued it together. And
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I don't like it. I'm not going to break it because I'm not that way. But I don't like that. I need it to hold. Yeah. This is it's a screen from an iPad 2 or 3. I can't remember. Might be the same thing. I don't know. This has got to go in. This is part of the thing that's been holding up this whole project is that. So I have it's going to hold this screen in a machine in this so that it's kind of a retro modern build I'm working on. And so I have much of the things designed for the inside here. So I've got a framework, main board, and battery that's going to sit inside of this. But then I don't want to do any damage to the case. So like I could revert it if I wanted to, but I want to be able to utilize the original ports for the different pieces of it. So instead of the IEC 6320 connector here, I'll probably do like just USB-C. So and then I have to create a mount for that. I'll have to. I can't use the switch because that's part of the board that's in here, and I'm not going to disassemble the board. But so I'll have to do something similar to that in the back here as well. I'll probably just do like a push button though. So anyway, the point is that I have all these different parts and pieces I want to finish designing, I should say, and then implement. But a lot of the prints are just a little bit too big, and I don't want to glue it together and have it break. So the goal is when I have to go to meetings at work, I don't want to bring my framework laptop. I want to bring that. And so especially if we have like meetings with vendors when they come in, like we have.
Okay, so the first time you do this, you can only share it with us, right? I don't think they would want it to be public, but I have got to see these facial expressions when you walk in with that instead of a laptop.
So what I can do is, because we don't use the conference rooms, I can just put the conference room on record, and then as I walk in, it's easy enough to do.
Yes, I have got to see these facial expressions and the comments that come when you walk in with that.
Yep. And so it's something I want to get done probably this fall. So I've got little bits of time here and there to work on it. Now they got this printer, I can actually start doing some test prints and whatnot, and print off one that doesn't look like garbage, because it's rough. Just
always
good.
So much nicer when you don't have to glue parts together.
That's kind of the big thing. I'm just preparing to do other projects. I have a bunch of other little things that I'm they're rolling around in here. They exist only in the virtual space. They don't exist in the physical space because of limitations, hard limitations. Time too. And that's kind of the big push right now. Upgrading the lab, hopefully do some more fun things, and go from there.
Yeah, that sounds like a super awesome and fun project. I can't wait to see updates on that one.
And it'll look great here too, next to my Commodore 64 X.
Yeah, it will.
So it's actually officially Commodore 64. That's a story for another time.
Yes, you'll tell us all about that later. Like, we got a sneak peek, but it's coming.
Mm-hmm. So, Wendy, you had some sort of an apology about the last show taking so long to get on Spotify.
Yeah. So on the last episode, 112, I announced the fact that we have video versions up on Spotify, and it's not part of my normal upload process. And so it finally got uploaded yesterday. So well over a week late, 2 weeks late, something like that. I'm sorry. I will make a note to make sure it gets uploaded. So the show itself gets uploaded to Spotify through Fireside. It pulls the show and auto uploads it. And then I need to go in afterwards and upload the video version to Spotify. And I completely spaced it off to do it with everything else that was going on. And I don't know when it pulls it into Spotify, because there's a lot of the times I am editing this show on Wednesday, and then I get it all uploaded and ready to go, but then it doesn't actually release until Saturday, and I don't think about it, right, to go back and check when does Spotify see it. Does it not see it until Saturday morning when it's officially releasing, or is it hanging out in the back end as a pending release? I'm not sure. That's all stuff I need to go check it on the back end. So hopefully this show you'll get much, much sooner on Spotify. And if you watched it there, leave us a heads up if you want to watch it there. Kind of give us a notice, whether it's on all the different places we can be. I know I've been really, really bad about being on and checking and updating Mastodon. I'm not much of a social media person, so I'll try. But do let us know if you do want to watch it there. I know we've had people... Yeah, it very much is. I know people have been happy to find us on Rumble. So if you're one of those watching us over there, thank you very much. I do like to give as many options to find the show as possible, because I know a lot of people are trying to break away from YouTube or other places. And so just giving many options to find us if you're willing to deal with us as possible.
Especially willing to deal with Matt. That's really anybody who's willing to deal with Matt. I mean, you're an angel.
That must mean we're angels.
We are.
No comment there, Matt.
The gears were kind of
all
grinding.
Demons were angels at some point.
Since we have you back, Matt, you have a game for us this week.
Ironically, I do, and it kind of falls into what we were just talking about. because the name of the game is called Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition. This was actually shadow dropped on GOG with Devil May Cry 1, 2, and 3, which had an HD remake, remaster, however you want to, upgrade, whatever you want to call it. It's full price currently, but the fact that Capcom, which has been very intellectual property protective, I'll put it that way, they've started doing things like going back and adding DRM to old Resident Evil games because they didn't like a mod that somebody made. And those are single player games, mind you. These aren't the multiplayer Resident Evil games. So, whatever. But the simple fact that this was released on GOG by a company who is notorious for not doing that is nice to see, because this is part of something that is kind of near and dear to me, which is like video game preservation. The thing is, we hear, and this is more modern. This came out like 2015, 16. The original game came out in 2008. So, but the thing is like the industry talks, the gaming industry specifically talks about video games are art. Why do you guys only have 13% of them actually saved? So out of all commercially viable available games, 13% of your art is available for viewing or playing or whatever. That is pathetic on so many levels, which is why I see stuff like this and other people working on game preservation as very, very important. So GOG has this thing called the GOG Dream List, which allows you to vote on games that they can try to poke at developers to kind of bring those games back to the forefront and get them playable on modern systems and that kind of stuff, which again, very cool. Some people will slag on GOG for a lot of dumb. They've made plenty of dumb, don't get me wrong. But when it comes to the core of what I think GOG should be and focus on is game preservation and making those available as a service as long as humanly possible. This kind of goes hand in hand with this whole stop killing games thing that is a big thing in the gaming industry right now, which is, more of a gamer / consumer rights kind of thing, where it's like, oh, hey, Ubisoft decides to kill this game so they can do another live service game for the direct sequel that's the same thing, just with some updates.
Yeah, kind of what Nintendo's been pulling, where it's like, here's a remastered game for $80.
Yeah, Well, don't even get me started on the $80 thing.
Okay, so
but-
I do have to side note as part of this.
Yep.
There's a new Sonic racing game that has just dropped. My kids have an Xbox One. They have made that new Sonic game available on the Xbox One, which is multiple generations old.
And to your side note,
I know where you're going with this.
I will give Microsoft a lot of crap, and a lot of crap they earned.
Yes.
Hey, look, we just told a bunch of teams that their jobs were great and safe and all this other stuff. And what they do, they just fired 1,500 new devs. So 9,000.
Not cool. Yeah.
9,000 devs specifically related to gaming in their Xbox division have been canned.
Oh, dang.
For one reason, Game Pass. They spent, Nate, you having done bigger companies, you'll know what I mean when I talk about ROI and all the other crap, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have spent between development costs of games that were already in development, acquisitions, etc. for one division. The one division currently is worth $5.7 billion, according to the Q3 fiscal year.
Wow.
As of now. They spent $100 billion in acquisitions and development.
Holy moly.
What do you think the ROI on that would be?
I have no idea.
So
a long time.
The ROI, the current, if it stays at the current rate that they report for the Xbox Service and Content Services division, because they don't give Game Pass its own little inline in their financials. They lump it in together with basically all of Xbox's like microtransactions, game sold, software sales, all that crap. $5.7 billion is what they made with an 8% year over year. 37.7 years. If they stay on that trend.
Wow.
What
Maybe they just
company
have money to burn.
You can have money to burn, but what as a shareholder? What?
Yeah, though to be fair, they're not the only ones making horrible decisions like that recently in the gaming industry. There has been a whole lot
Sony,
of
Nintendo,
horrible decisions.
I feel like Nintendo's not even being run by people who care about fun and games anymore.
I don't think so.
No.
But that's kind of been one of my bigger complaints with Nintendo for years.
Is Steam the last bastion of hope?
I think it's definitely one of them. And I like GOG. I've also bought games off Fanatical and different places like that. One of the things that I do like about GOG, and I think what makes it more sustainable is the fact that we have something like Heroic, which is now running pretty good, pretty fluidly with a lot of these Windows games. That makes it so I now feel comfortable purchasing a game on GOG and knowing that I most likely can get it running on Heroic on Linux.
To get back to the actual video game, yes, it's
we were talking about one.
Oh yeah.
So it's Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition. It's $35 for like the everything version. It's a action beat 'em up. It's a 3D beat 'em up essentially. There is a story, but let's be real. The whole point of beat 'em ups is just throw a bunch of enemies at me,
the action,
slice and dice, and that's the whole point of it.
And I just want to say, Matt, looking at some of the art, I see why you like it.
I was waiting for that one.
You knew it was coming, right? I mean, you absolutely knew it was coming.
I will put it this way: this is not a game for people with modern audience feelings about video game and character design.
Yes, which it gives you a content warning already when you go to look at the game in the first place.
Oh, okay, Wendy. This is also the same side content here.
So yes, this is a mature rated game, though this is a suggestion from Matt. Most of them are, though he does throw us some kid friendly, some family friendly games every now and again. This is not one of them.
No,
but it's not like this game hasn't been around for a while. So if you're already familiar with it, maybe you already have a disc version or played it somewhere else. You know what the content is. Yeah. I will have some clips in here, edited versions of it, keeping it clean for the show.
PG friendly.
Yeah, PG friendly, but actually showing some of that in there as much as I possibly can. But
It's definitely a Matt game.
No, it's definitely a Japanese game.
Yeah, so my husband definitely likes a lot of those more action style games. He's been playing the Mordor game recently. I can't remember the full name of it.
Shadow of Mordor?
Yes, he's been playing that. I'm not sure how far along he is into it, but it has been his like sit down and kind of chill game recently.
Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War. Those are the two only good games that after, well, that's about the last two good games that Warner Brothers as a game division put out. They've
have made. So he doesn't have Shadow of War. We don't have Shadow of War. So maybe that's what I'll get for him next after he finishes this one. So he's got something else. I try to like find games that he will enjoy. So after he gets done with one that he's played all the way through, he can jump into something else. There was another plane game he's also been playing on Heroic. I can't remember what that one is, but I think like that one's more stressful for him because you're having to not crash and all of that. And if you're last in line, you can still get eliminated. So I think that one's less like
Wendy,
relaxing.
Not to totally be an enabler. It's on Shadow of War is on GOG. Okay. Definitive edition for $6.
Well, guess what I'm buying?
It's only $6.
It's only $6. To be fair, I just spent $6 on myself on GOG for 2 games. So I think like I literally bought 2 games while we were talking on GOG because I noticed that 2 of my games on my wish list were on sale.
And Shadow, I've poked at Shadow of War more than probably a little less than Mordor, but it's a good game. So it's $6 for all the DLC because that's the DLC. There's like I think there's a high res pack that's free for download. There's a bunch of stuff that goes with it. That it's a good
and I
game.
think we have the definitive edition or something like that of Shadow of War Mordor. Like I said, he's been enjoying that game for the most part. So I think if he's enjoyed that one and this gameplay is pretty similar, he'll probably like this one too.
Yep. Totally not being an enabler.
Yes, you are. That's okay. I asked for it.
It's your superpower, Matt.
Yes.
Every superhero has their power, and that's yours.
And that's yours.
So
more of an anti-hero.
Anyway, while I'm finding enjoyment in old crusty games that are being renewed for modern people to play, Nate, you're finding modern Linux to be quite boring, though.
I have to be honest with you. I came to this realization somewhat recently, really, when I find I'm not like terribly excited about new releases of operating systems anymore. Yeah, I get like little bumps of excitement with like, QIDI's got some new features or, Wayland getting some bugs ironed out of it. That excites me. But for the most part, the Linux is like getting into a sedan and going for a ride, or minivan and going for a ride. It's like, it works great. It's reliable, gets you from point A to B, but it's not really, it used to be, roll the dice. Is it going to work? Or, new bit of technology. How long are you going to have to fight it to get it to work? But now everything is supported, it seems like. I mean, outside
mostly, I would say Wayland has thrown a wrench in some of that for some people. There's a lot of people that Wayland can work fine for. But yeah, if you're using a lot of those standard distributions, like you log into it. Heck, with the Zorin that I threw on my in-laws' computer, it auto found their printer. Like I didn't have to do crap to make any of that work. It just is there.
I would say now I'm going to be careful. Clipped out of context, this could sound bad, but in many ways, for me, Windows has been more exciting because and it's terrible. Wait, can't say it like that. in many ways, Windows has been more exciting because it breaks. It's not reliable. It's a roll of the dice. Is it going to work today? Is this server going to keep doing what it's supposed to do? Or is this desktop going to just decide it's, not, this service is no longer going to work? Am I going to have to wipe it today? In the last, now mind you, at the same time, it's also frustrating, but like in the last couple of months, new machines with Windows 11 on it, which by the way, I heard a discussion on Linux, Destination Linux. I actually like Windows 11 more than all the rest of them, but that's another discussion. Comparatively speaking, it's a more cohesive experience. I hate the Copilot stuff, but anyway, and the fact that it's not reliable. But anyway, but things just break. It's like all of a sudden, Tailscale just is not going to work now, and no matter what you do, it's just not going to work. So you have to reinstall Windows because there's no way to get around it, or drivers just stop working. It's like roll the dice. So in many ways, that's now, mind you, I don't like to live on Windows. It's not a good experience, but it's literally a more on the edge of your seat experience. And, it's what's going to break today. What print service, what print spool is just going to just decide it's not going to just work for now.
To me, that actually sounds stressful and not actually fun. So on the same note as that, my co-mentor for the robotics teams has been having issues with her laptop. It's currently running Windows 10. I don't think it can get the upgrade to 11. I think some of that's software related. There's software that she's needed that isn't available on 11.
That's actually another bit of excitement, but I'll get to that in just a bit.
But so she actually sent a picture in our team chat earlier today with her screen doing all kinds of funky things. And it was like, oh, maybe it's time that she actually needs a new laptop. It turns out during one of those Windows updates, it turned off access to her dedicated GPU. So everything was running off the Intel integrated GPU as she was trying to do heavy lifting graphics stuff, and crap was overheating. And that's
nice.
Why it was doing funky crap. Yeah. So now that they went through, her son helped her, went through, find out what was wrong, turn the NVIDIA graphics card back on, everything's working. It's running a whole lot faster. It's using the hardware that it was supposed to. And it was an update turned it off for some reason.
That's wild. Yeah, I don't get that either. And that's part of the excitement of running Windows, because it just does these weird things. Like it just all right, I'll give you another example. So I have Windows 11, they prevent you from being able to install it on perfectly capable hardware, but they stop you from being able to do that. Well, I've learned of a workaround. I didn't discover it. It was actually my son that discovered it. And so I got a workaround. So I don't want a new desktop at work. It's totally fine and very performant, but it just doesn't have, Windows 11 is not supported. It's running Windows 11. So you pull a couple levers. It's like, you kind of hide some things and do whatever you got to do. And you can get it to do, to run Windows 11. So there's a little bit of excitement in that. It's like, how long before I get caught or whatever, or how long before the next update breaks it? It's kind of exciting, don't you think? I mean, is it 24H2, I think, was the last major release of Windows 11. And so I had done this at version 23 something. And so I had to do kind of a tricky way of getting it to do an update, because it won't actually do the updates to the next release of it until, for whatever reason, just it stops it because of the whole limitations. But there's a way of getting around that too. And that's kind of fun. And then there's Tiny 11. So you can run Windows 11, but you strip all the superfluous bits out, and you can actually run it on, fourth generation Intel i7s, and it runs actually pretty good. Now you have to reinstall every couple of months because it just kind of has an aneurysm, but that's kind of part of the excitement.
Doesn't sound like so much fun.
So it's kind of like running Linux Mint 13 years ago when you had to do a nuke and pave at every version, because it wouldn't, it would just, Linux would get crazy at certain updates on the Debians. And so, that was kind of exciting. And so I feel like Windows is such a mess now that it's actually more exciting than running Linux.
That roll of the dice to see if it works. So, yes. Okay. Here's maybe a positive side to Linux being boring, right? We know that Windows 10 is coming end of life. this coming year with PewDiePie and some other people that have been showing off Linux. There have been some new users headed our way. Do you find that Linux being boring is helping with the people moving over? Because we did jump to 5% here in that recent survey, right? So do you think that boringness, that it just working side of it, mine is Wayland being weird. I have to caveat that because I do have had some major issues with it recently, and I've had issues with snaps. But for the most part, it being like boring, do you think that helps with that adaptation and that transition over?
Yeah. And I'm going to give you another example. You were talking about new user Linux distributions. You were talking about it on Destination Linux. Check out, I don't remember what the episode number was.
Yeah, I'd have to look it up, but it'll be here somewhere.
I was actually yelling at my radio because I was listening to it as I was driving home from work. And I'm like, I would actually recommend to a new user something like Bazite. Now, I like Tumbleweed. I'll never leave Tumbleweed unless Tumbleweed like rips itself apart. But as far as like Bazite, if someone, I mean, you can do Bazite with or without the game, like the Steam game, like where it launches into the what is it, like game mode or whatever. So like just a regular version or whatever, you install Bazite with like the desktop as the primary interface, and then you use Flatpaks essentially for any typical user out there. I'm not talking about like power users or like, you know, tinkerers and stuff like that, but people like who just want a computer that will do gaming and you know, have fun and be able to be productive as well. Essentially, you throw that on there, and you don't got to worry after that. That's it. Like, that's it. It doesn't do anything crazy.
For the most part, that's straightforward. But isn't Bazite based on Fedora?
Yes.
So they have to be adding X back into it for 42, aren't they?
I have no idea what they're doing for the next version.
I'd be curious to know if they're adding those layers back on. I know on the last episode of DL, Jill was talking about another kind of translation layer that not only helped translate
way back,
applications and desktop too. So that could be kind of an interesting way to help while some of those Wayland issues are worked out on something like Bazite. My biggest issue with like throwing somebody an application or a desktop like that in which they're having to install Flatpaks is, I think they kind of need to know about Flat Seal, because just trying to get Pybricks running as an app, because especially for the team laptops that they're using for camps, I don't want them clicking on the browser because you have to run it in Chrome anyway. I want that to be an application that they can just see the Pybricks logo and launch it. And in order to do that, I had to give it access to the home folder, which meant that you had to open up Flat Seal and make that change. So those are definitely, I would say, some of my like less it just works issues with things like that, because unless you know, okay, I need to go install this application and make this to do these things to make it work. Now, I agree with Matt. He said it before. He hasn't said it now, but I'm sure he'll say it again at some point. You know, walk into Linux as it is a whole new experience. Like if you were going from Windows to Mac, no, it's going to be different. Going from Windows to Linux, no, it's going to be different. And with some of these universal applications, there are tweaks and things you may need to make in order to get them to function the way you expect them to and the way that you need them to.
In my mind, what would fix that to make Linux even more boring is just some sort of notification that something is being blocked, and then you would know to go in and adjust that. So like in Android, when you want to utilize some feature, it says, you don't have permissions for this. And then you have to go into settings and open up the permissions. So if Flatpak with Flat Seal or probably KDE and their Plasma and their integration with, because they have a Flat Seal like system, you know, Flatpak permissions, if they had a notification on there of what you had to adjust, that would basically solve that. Because probably for most cases, you actually want that blocked. So, but for this specific case, I mean, frankly, Pybricks is a bit more of an edge case, because what percentage of people are actually doing that? Probably fairly small.
I think a lot of people actually use Chrome apps. I think more than you think they do, saving
You're probably
different
right.
things as a Chrome application. And you cannot use that feature unless you give it access to the full home directory.
Yeah. And that's an easy one. I say it's an easy fix because you just have to, if a user knows, hey, by the way, you're being,
Well,
this
to be
is Sam-
fair, I figured that out. That's not how the error reads.
right. So, and that I would agree with you. That is a bit of a rough edge that should be addressed, but it's such a minor rough edge, really.
Yes. I think we are getting nitpicky here. Now, Matt, you have unmuted yourself a couple times and then we keep talking. So
yeah.
What do you have to fill in here?
Nate, I know why you think Linux is boring, because it's gotten to the point where that sense of discovery is kind of just not there. Everything you want to do, it just kind of works. It just it does its thing. Windows is saying Windows is doing exciting, and because you never know with the roll of the dice if it's going to work. Oh, I would much rather open a window and throw Windows out that window.
No, don't get me wrong. Windows is not good for productivity. It's terrible.
No.
It's not really good for gaming either. It's pretty terrible. But if you want to live on the edge and you're not really sure what desk side support you're going to have to do tomorrow, Windows is great.
I'll go run React OS.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I was going to ask. Do you think it's more volatile than Arch now?
I think it's approaching that.
I think I think ever since Microsoft went to whatever they're doing after probably it started with 8 and just got progressively worse. 7, I will give 7, it had its issues, but as a generic, general purpose OS, it was pretty good.
Yeah. I ran 8 or 7. It was 8 that made me go, holy crap, what are my other options? And that's when I switched to Linux.
Windows 8 had the dual identity crisis of
Yeah, 8.1 was a nightmare.
But anyway.
I thought 8.1 was a slight improvement.
That's where I started having more issues that actually pushed me to Linux.
Well, 8 made me want to be no, I'm not playing with this Fisher Price, block, silly blocks. Give me Windows 7. I didn't actually run 8 at all. I ran 7 until 10 came out. So, not regularly, but just
on the side when you needed a Windows system. Yeah.
My side chick, I guess. So the it's been Linux is my main thing for 20 plus years now. So here's the other thing too. Hardware support in many ways, not 100%, but in many ways is way easier in Linux now than Windows. So I have to set up machines, most of my framework machines at work for new users. And sometimes it's a roll of the dice of whether or not Windows will actually be happily install on new hardware. It's just,
whoa, really?
Yeah. So when the Windows installer doesn't have a lot of drivers in it. So you don't have network, you don't have your touchpad's not necessarily going to work. You have the worst machine I installed Windows on was a Lenovo P16S with a 12th generation Intel in it. That was a nightmare. It was an actual nightmare. Another machine that was a nightmare was a desktop, which again, we have I think I've had it on brand new machines, machines less than a year old. I've had to re-baseline machines, 3 of them now. None of the framework machines that I had installed on. But
so in those cases, do you actually have to hardline it somehow in order to get those drivers installed?
I got to find the right driver. And then at the install process, it won't even be able to find storage. So I had the Intel Rapid Storage something drivers. Otherwise, you couldn't actually utilize any of the storage systems on the computer. So
holy crap!
It is such a mess. It is a dumpster fire. And installing Linux Tumbleweed, which is actually not a fast install process, but installing Windows takes so much longer if you have newer hardware. Like you have to go out and
Because of
play
all those driver issues.
all the driver stuff issues. Yeah. So it is such a mess. And so it's exciting. It took me, I'm embarrassed to say this. It wasn't the only thing I was doing, but it took me about 4 hours to install Windows on a particular machine because of having to hunt down drivers.
Holy cow.
Yeah. And then doing searches, grokking, and using grok to find correct answers for different, how to do this, and providing information because the Dell website was useless. So yeah, 2 Dell machines, a desktop and a laptop. Those are horrible. The worst one was probably the Lenovo. Now, mind you, I had that exact same Lenovo that I installed Tumbleweed on. Total breeze.
No problem. Yeah,
no problem.
Interesting.
So, Nate, I know exactly what you mean as far as things not working. So this is a Windows-based handheld. I have Windows installed on this thing. I take for granted a lot of the luxuries of certain things built into kernels, like graphics.
Spoiled. You are so spoiled running Linux right now. You have no idea.
This particular thing didn't have the AMD graphics updates since, according to this, at least on Windows, after I downloaded the annoying AMD app in order to install said drivers. Now, yes, you can do just drivers only, but third party bolt on to install things in Windows. Shock. These hadn't been updated since about January for drivers of this year.
Cow.
That's amazing.
And those are the ones through the generic Windows display, whatever adapter driver or whatever the heck it is. Could have said better. Worse.
Getting a little feisty there.
But I definitely know what you mean as far as just getting generic features to work on certain things. The Windows updater for optional hardware and all the other stuff. It doesn't find half your stuff. Why do I have to rely on something like Driver Booster or a third party sourcing entity to find stuff? Even at least with the Linux, even in the firmware updater, FWUP. That's all built into Discover, or that's built into whatever.
And it works so smooth too, because when I was installing on the Linux on those laptops for camps, I pull it up. Oh, look, there's firmware updates for these laptops. Bada boom, they're installed, ready to go.
Well, it's like the Minisform machine, but before I pulled that, literally you'll see I'll just do GURT attack update because I use a drop down terminal when I do terminal stuff. Literally you'll see Linux firmware update. So I'm oh, cool. I had updates on the machine. Awesome.
Right. Yeah.
But you won't get that. The core Windows experience is what makes it terrible.
Yes.
As Nate is putting it, more exciting to use. Because you never know the experience you're gonna get. And you know what? I think I'd rather be for as much crap as I will give a Mac OS person or people who use Mac OS, there is something to be said about stability. There is something to be said about things working. And there is a thing of utilization of your hardware generically correctly. Now, there are some... Linux still has its pain areas, like you mentioned, Nate, but I will say that for the most part, they aren't nearly as bad as they used to be. And Microsoft, with every iteration, makes it more of a fun game to fix all the problems Microsoft introduced.
No, I don't want to just poo on Microsoft the entire time. I do want to say, though, I have had to use... I do have 3 Macintosh computers right now. So the best one was the one that was made in 1987. That's probably the pinnacle of all of them. The little the laptop, the aluminum laptop with whatever the current Mac OS is, and this all-in-one giant aluminum thing as well. They're very nice and shiny, but I do not like the interface. I will actually take as crazy as this may sound, I will gladly go down the Windows road, with 4 lug nuts missing on one tire of Windows 11 on a dirt track over the supercar hugging the road on a racetrack of Mac, because at least with Windows, the interface is a lot better. I don't like the Mac interface. It's just
and I never have, even on the other Apple products, right? The iPhone, their tablets. Like I agree with you. I don't like the interface, though. I have been kind of tempted to get a MacBook and put Asahi on it, because I would like to see how that looks, how that runs. And they've done a lot of work to get Linux running on that Mac hardware.
Yeah, they have. I don't like the repairability nature of Macs, so that's the other thing. That's kind of the deal breaker for me.
Nate, the real question is, what repairability of a Mac?
Yes, absolutely.
That a normal human will go through. Let me reiterate this point before
so that's the other deal breaker. Basically, the Mac hardware is the deal breaker for me. I don't care how awesome it is under the hood. It can be the best. It could walk into my kitchen and jump up on the counter and clean it and make dinner for me. I still wouldn't want it. So
I've got a rework station now. If I could get the parts for it, which from what I understand from other creators who have made their living in the past repairing those kind of devices, that
Louis
now
Rossmann?
Getting the parts, to repair them is an absolute nightmare, because they've pulled that availability. But otherwise, I now have a full rework station. I could do that.
Good. I have to rework this thing here.
Wendy, is that would that be the cheese grater Mac? Out of curiosity.
I don't have a Mac at all.
No, the workstation that you have available.
No, it is actually a rework station. So it's got a heat air gun, it's got a soldering gun, it's got a desoldering gun on it. Like, it is a full rework station. Yeah. So when we initially got it, the maker space here in town, the kids had been there a couple different times, been able to take stuff apart, old hardware and things, and then brought them home. And right after it showed up, like, the kids were having a blast with the desoldering gun, removing chips and all kinds of things. I was like, heck yeah, have at it. So the kids have been having fun with it. So I actually can, with that rework station, and a little bit of like time and learning, be able to repair things like that at home.
So I don't have a desoldering gun. I wish I did, because it sounds like
it's like so nice.
But the I have done micro soldering before, and like small components and whatnot. That's not too bad if you have the flux and everything else, and it's not that bad. But I don't know about like I've never done like a surface mount chip package. I've not done one of those yet. Just small things.
I haven't put one on, right? The kids have removed chips and that kind of stuff. But that's, I guess, the fun part of using the old boards. Is at that point you can practice making sure that your solder is nice and clean and you're not worried about it at that point. There's also some really cool projects that I found that you can build things learning how to solder and the like, and really good ways to make sure that you're not applying too much solder. There's quite a bit of solder that has the flux core in it. I found some desoldering wicks and some other like fun different toys as far as that goes for us to use. So as long as I can pick it up for super cheap or free, then I'm not opposed to playing with it. And if it breaks, like repairing it, because then you're not out much. It's kind of like my feeling of, I'm not sure if I'm going to like this game, and picking up for $1. If I hate it, then no big deal. Right. And that's, exactly. I don't know. I think the only place at this point that I'll pay full price for a game is Steam. And it's because if I decide that, holy crap, this isn't for me, you can do the refund.
So yeah, all that said, Linux is pretty boring. I put it on things. It just works. The struggle is over, and the new frontier is just trying to keep Windows 11 machines alive. And I think that's the exciting part. It is not a mystery to me at all why Linux is growing exponentially at this point, because, I think this is just my prediction, but the fact we went in the last year, jumped a whole percent increase by 25% increase in Linux user share. I think in the next couple of years, we might see more third-party software just for Linux, because Linux is really not that far behind Mac at this point. And if it keeps growing, especially with things like Bazite and Flatpak being a method of distribution, app images are actually really good too. I don't seek out app images, but if applications that I want, that I discover, have app images, I do like to use those. And I think, I don't know if Microsoft Office will ever be fully supported in Linux. Right now, you can get pretty good. You can get, without the OneDrive integration, you can get a good experience. But the that editing ability, like where multiple people can edit one sheet, like through OneDrive, that doesn't work on Linux. If that worked in Linux, I would well, no, because I like the excitement. But I like it that things break just on me at random. But I think that Linux would be ready for, a drop-in replacement. It's so close at this point. And I know it's been, Linux is pretty boring. So anyway, that was it.
Nate, I'm just going to say, if you find Linux boring, go run Haiku.
I love Haiku, actually. Believe it or not, I do. It's great. You just can't do multi-user with that. It doesn't have the same security features.
And Wendy just kind of glazed over with that one.
Haiku, I was like, the poem?
Haiku OS is a re-implementation of BEOS, which was one of the first 64-bit, true 64-bit OSs, and there's a lot of tech to it.
It's super lightweight because there's not much in it. It doesn't do a lot for you. So it's it's like stepping back 20 years a little bit in many ways, as far as an experience.
That should feel like right at home for you then.
I know.
Boy.
Yeah. Yeah. But like hardware support isn't great. A lot of things like doesn't have all the. So it's definitely.
Shouldn't that be exciting for you then, right? Hardware support isn't great.
In your case, it'll make Haiku OS exciting for you.
Yes.
Yeah, so
there you go. A non-boring Linux.
So we're having a Linux Saloon. I know this will be, by the time this goes out, it'll be past. But we're doing Open Indiana, which is an Open Solaris replacement. And I've already got Eris, who helps me out just tons on Linux Saloon. He told me he's having such a terrible time getting it going, and I'm so excited. So
you can't wait for this feedback to roll in, huh?
I can't. The away mission is complete, and it's time for you to beam in your thoughts. Fire up your communicator and send us a message on the discourse forum, under this transmission, or through our official hailing frequencies at tuxdigital.com/contact. When I connect on our preferred subspace channels, check out the comms panel below the episode description, and don't forget to explore other excellent broadcasts from Starfleet Command, like the Sudo Show, Destination Linux, and Linux Saloon at tuxdigital.com. Show your allegiance to the Out Loud crew by visiting the Tux Digital merch store. Gear up with the I paused my game to be here, unless you're Matt, who doesn't pause this game to be here. Or declare your loyalty to #Team Wendy with some Sinister Wendy line of swag.
Evil.
As always, thank you for traveling with us through the stars of open source. We'll rendezvous again soon for another awesome sode of Linux Out Loud. Until then, keep the banter friendly, the conversation somewhat on topic, and boldly have fun doing it.
While being evil if you like Wendy.